if we can start the meeting now, please. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Wakefield Council Cabinet. I hope you're all keeping safe and well in these strange and difficult times. We've had apologies for absence this morning from the leader, Councillor Jeffrey, and also understand that Councillor Hepton-Stoll is having some difficulties joining the meeting, but may join us later. If we can move on to item 2, the minutes on pages 1 to 7, can we agree those as a correct record?
Move them, Chair.
Thank you. Right, those are moved. Item 3, Chair's announcements. There are no announcements to make this morning, so move on to urgent items. Again, there are no urgent items that I've been made aware of which need to be raised this morning. I draw members' attention to item 5 and declarations of interest. If you do have a declaration of interest to make, please do so at the appropriate juncture and then ask committee services for a declaration of interest form to make the appropriate declaration. With that, we'll move on to the reports. So item 6 is the Air Quality Management Areas Review and Replication, and this report comes under my portfolio. So I'll make a start with that. I'm very pleased to report to Cabinet that the Air Quality Management Action Areas in 2 of our district's locations can now be revoked, and that's because we've seen sustained reductions in emissions in those areas and air quality is beginning to improve. And those areas are in Ackworth and also in Castleford along a section of the M62. An area is subject to an air quality management plan when levels of nitrogen dioxide and other harmful gases reach levels that need to be addressed and actioned. And we do have around 40 locations in the district where monitoring takes place of those gases. So it's really good news that air quality is improving in those areas and that residents will be able to benefit from cleaner air. If you turn to page 13 of the report, the recommendations are set out that we note this. By undertaking to revoke the sites, we're not suggesting that the council's removing our focus from air quality management, but we need to do this because there's no justification to keep those areas under an air quality management plan, and we can also focus our efforts in improving air quality in other areas of the district. So I'll move the report in line with the recommendations set out on page 13 and happy to take any questions or comments. Right, no questions or comments. Can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. That report is agreed. So move on to item 7, which is the extension to public spaces protection orders in Pontefract Town Centre. Councillor Cummings, would you like to move this item?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And if I may, with your permission, can I take agenda item 7 and 8 together? 7 is Pontefract and 8 is Wakefield, and they both relate to the extension of the public space protection orders. Is it okay if I take them both together?
Yeah, please do that. That makes sense, Maureen. Thank you.
Okay. As you know, Wakefield Council's Cabinet are being asked to consider the extension of the public space protection orders in both Castleford and Pontefract town centres for a further 3 years to help police and the council tackle antisocial behaviour. As you know, these orders provide the council and the police with additional powers to deal with antisocial behaviour that affects the enjoyment of the area by local residents and visitors. Both orders came into force in 2017 and have resulted in the reduction in antisocial behaviour. The proposal to extend these orders, which is supported by the police and will provide an additional tool to help protect residents and visitors from antisocial behaviour relating to street drinking and those under the influence of drugs. The introduction of the PSPOs for 3 years was 3 years ago, has had a positive impact, and I know local residents and businesses are very much in favour of the extension. We need to send out a clear message that antisocial behaviour won't be tolerated, and extending these orders provides us with additional powers to tackle the issue. The recommendations in both cases are at 3.1 and for Pontefract are on page 24 and for Wakefield are on page 32, and it is that Cabinet approve the proposal to extend the PSPOs as shown in Appendix 2 on both of these reports for a further 3 years until, from 22nd of November 2020. I move the recommendation.
Thank you, Maureen. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Matthew, you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Just saying, Maureen, as somebody actually lives in one of these areas in Castleford Town Centre, I have seen the difference that these orders have made on our streets. I do welcome them. But at the end of the day, they are only as good as what the police getting out there to support them as well. And we know how overstretched they are. Do you have any findings or any comments to make about the amount of policing that the government's promised to increase in the Wakefield district? Have they come forward yet?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, it was announced by the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioners that we were going to get 20,000 new police officers. Now, whether that's materialised or not, I've no idea. It's probably a question we need to ask him. But it doesn't just give the police the enforcement powers; it gives our enforcement officers the powers as well to actually confiscate alcohol if it's been consumed on the streets, and similarly with drugs. We're never going to be all the time in the right place at the right time to make it a lot better for people, but these orders will help us do our best and give us the powers along with the powers for the police. But as far as the police are concerned, I think your question would be better directed to the police.
Thank you for that, Maureen.
Are there any further questions for Maureen on this item? Okay, colleagues, can we agree the reports at 7 and 8?
Agreed.
Thank you. Those reports are agreed. We'll move on to item 9, procuring a registered provider to develop the council-owned land at Farm Lane, Fitzwilliam. Councillor Byford, this is your report. Would you like to move it?
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to approve the disposal of some land owned by the council at Farm Lane in Fitzwilliam. And this is to support our determination to provide and support additional affordable housing across the district. As the proposed affordable housing will include some specialist housing, this can only be done by procuring a registered provider through a tendering process and subsequent development agreement. So option 1, which is the option preferred, is that we enter into an agreement with a registered provider to develop this piece of land, which will result in around 60 new affordable houses being built. In that 60, there will be 14 specialist buildings provided, which will allow people to live a proper life, but being fully accessible and being built to satisfy their needs. Of that 14, 7 will be bungalows. This one site alone, which, as I said, will give us nearly 60 additional affordable homes, will go nearly 10% towards our contribution of our annual building of 640 some affordable homes each year. I think it's important that we just reflect on that in one go we can achieve 10% of our annual total, and this gives us full control over a site if we go down this option. So I would respectfully suggest that we look at option 1, and I recommend option 1 to Cabinet today.
Thank you, Darren. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Jackie, I've got a comment from you if you want to ask.
Thank you. I do welcome the report. I welcome anything that gives us more affordable housing, but what really pleases me about this one is the fact that it provides for specialist housing. I know there's a shortage of specialist housing across the district, and I don't think we can underestimate how much difference that can make to people's lives in order to let them live more independent lives, more comfortable lives. So I really, really do welcome the specialist housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, and I fully agree with those comments. It's great to see that we're doing this and providing for vulnerable people and those with specialist needs. Are there any other comments or questions on the report? Okay, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. We'll move on to the next item. So item 10, Employment and Skills Strategy, Wakefield, a Learning City. Again, this is one for you, Darren.
Again, thank you, Chair. So, seeking approval for the contents of our ambitious and new strategy for the period 2021 to 2025, the Employment and Skills Strategy for Wakefield, a Learning City and District. We, as Wakefield Council and its partners, are ambitious for our residents, and this strategy will make a critical contribution to the wider economic recovery work across the district. Through this strategy, we will address the long-term challenges of improving skills and driving employment opportunities to be delivered within the context of uncertainty created by Britain's exit from the European Union and through the current COVID pandemic. It will provide a framework for all residents of the district to have equal opportunities to succeed and to be successful, and to thrive and to prosper. Latest data, which is shown in the report, makes some pretty grim reading. And of course, the information which was published today that says that UK unemployment has now risen to 4.8% of the population. We have to have a skills strategy that reflects the needs of what we want to do in this authority. And I firmly believe that this strategy will go a long way to making Wakefield a thriving and successful place for people and residents. So I recommend this report.
Thank you, Darren. I've got a question from Margaret.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've got a couple of questions, actually. One's relating to 4.2. I'm really pleased that we're looking at developing this strategy to upskill people. But my question is, it's always going to be the question, while we're upskilling people, how are we going to attract the jobs into the district? Further down in the commentary, there's reference to a lot of the jobs that we're finding are the lower skilled jobs, and I think if we're wanting to upskill people, we need to have the jobs available for them to go into, because we don't want them to be leaving the district. I also have a query about how we're going to reach the disadvantaged and those in more remote areas. While we're in this pandemic, we've now having to use technology, computers, much more than we were before. And obviously there's a lot of people out there that do not have access to the technology and to the sort of use that we're expecting people to have. So how do we provide the equipment for people so that they don't miss out on the offers that we're making to them? Thank you.
Two extremely good questions there, Margaret. Thank you. It's easy to say that we're going to just do a little bit more of the same, but there's a lot more behind that statement, because over the last few months and years, we've been very successful as a local authority and as a district of getting investors to come in and invest in businesses that are extremely well-paid jobs. And I'll just give you an example of a company called Sotec, who relocated their headquarters into the Wakefield district a few months, perhaps a year or so ago, and they make robots, cutting-edge technology with lots of high-skilled, high-paid people. We have many businesses across the district who are doing that on a regular basis. But what we are now doing when we speak to businesses and to developers, we are saying to them, we've got really good supply of a workforce who are willing to learn and upskill. And we're working with Leeds Beckett University as an example to encourage businesses to access our apprenticeship levy to ensure that they can get the training and the funding that they need to develop their existing and to bring in new workforce. And we can also tie that into Step Up, which of course is our successful training program, which does get to people across the district. And it does it in such a way that you don't need to be technologically advanced. You can actually sit and talk to somebody on the telephone, or in non-COVID times, meet somebody face to face. But going back a little bit, when we sit down and talk to developers, agents and businesses, we do encourage them to look at Wakefield for higher value jobs throughout the district, because we've got a really good track record of doing that. And one of the things that's coming up in the near future is that we are working with and starting to develop an advanced manufacturing site, which will be coming forward in the very near future in the Broadcut Farm area. And that will be a really good example of where we've managed to bring in to the district some really good, high-level, highly paid jobs.
Thank you. That's excellent news, Darren. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. I've got a question from Maureen now.
Yeah, thank you. And I suppose mine's pretty much along the same lines as Margaret's. It's fantastic what we're doing here in Wakefield around helping vulnerable people, not just to live day to day, but to actually try and get them back into employment. And I know that we're in unprecedented times, but I wonder if in encouraging people back into employment, and I know that we hopefully will have some jobs back in our district really soon. But I wonder if you'd thought about virtual learning, and certainly virtual learning in their communities. And I'm talking specifically about the hubs within our communities. Virtual learning, and Margaret's touched upon it, people can't always embrace technology, but they can sit in a COVID-friendly classroom and learn virtually. I wondered if that had been considered.
I think, again, that is a really good question, and it's something that we should look at very, very quickly and very soon. And I will take that away, Councillor Cummins, and come back to you quickly.
Thank you, Darren. Are there any further questions on the report? Okay, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. That's agreed. So we'll move on to agenda item 11. Again, another one for you, Darren. The Wakefield Infrastructure Funding Statement Annual Report. Would you like to move it, please?
I can assure everybody that this is my last one for today. Thank you. Thank you again, Chair. This report is to inform how much money the council has raised from the community infrastructure levy in the financial year ended March 2020, and how it's been spent. It's also to give you also a view of the position of the Section 106 planning obligations as it fits into this. This is a very detailed report, which I do not intend to go through at great length, other than to say on page 94 there is a table which shows how over the last 4 years we have brought in funding through the community infrastructure levy, and then it goes on to show in great detail the implications of how it's been spent, where it's been spent, and the benefit that it's achieved. So the option one, which I am recommending, is that we approve the publication of the Wakefield Infrastructure Funding Statement for the period 1st of April 2019 to the 31st of March 2020, which ratifies the decision of the Cabinet reports on the 15th of September and goes on to say that it allocates a certain amount of money of £1 million for the Strategic Community Infrastructure Levy Fund to support the creation and improvement of strategic sports and leisure infrastructure in certain parts of the district. With that, I move this report.
Thank you, Darren. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. That report is agreed. Move on now to agenda item 12 under non-key decisions. In the absence of the leader, I'll take this report today. So this is the financial health report for 2021, month 6, April to September. And the report is to update Cabinet on the Council's budget position for the current financial year. I'm pleased to be able to confirm to Cabinet that the Council is still looking at a balanced budget position with a marginal underspend for this financial year. And Table 1 on agenda page 156 provides a summary position. The report also includes a forecast on the COVID budget gap to March of £15 million, which will impact on our finances in both this and the next financial years. And this doesn't include the impact of the current lockdown and the recent funding from government, which officers are looking at and will report to Cabinet next month with more detail. The recommendation in the report is for Cabinet to note the forecast balanced budget on the position for 2020-21 in the revenue budget. Can we note this, and are there any questions? Okay, can we agree to note the report?
Great.
Thank you, colleagues. The next item is agenda item 13, the mid-year capital programme update. And this report will provide members with the latest position on the Council's current capital programme spend. Cabinet will recall that the Budget Council in February approved a 4-year capital programme of around £400 million, which is a significant investment right across our district. The capital programme is continually reviewed and updated to take into account new schemes, and the rephasing of schemes on Table 1 of the agenda, page 181, has an updated summary of these. Cabinet are asked to note the progress in the delivery of the capital programme and the updated 3-year capital programme summarised in Table 1 on Appendix 1. Can we note these items? That's agreed. Thank you, colleagues. Moving on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 14, Treasury Management Mid-Year Report for the period ending 30th September 2020. Councillor Graham, would you like to move this report?
Thanks, Chair. This report provides positive assurances to members that the activities carried out by officers have complied with the policies and strategy approved by the Council in February. Effective Treasury management activity ensures that the Council makes best use of its cash flows and achieves the best balance between borrowing and investment. Our investment strategy seeks to safeguard the Council's resources by prioritising financial security and liquidity over yield, and that basically means that we protect the Council's resources by only investing with high quality counterparties. With the report, we've got Appendix 1, which sets out the key areas of the strategy and also confirmation of our actions are being complied with. And we've got Appendix 2, which sets out the proposed investment strategy for next year as well. Just draw Cabinet members' attention to the recommendations. We're asking Cabinet members to note the assurances provided within the report. We're asking them to consider the proposed investment strategy. And finally, that Cabinet notes the report will also go to Audit and Governance Committee on the 16th of November. With that, Chair, I move the report, and if there's any questions or comments, happy to take them.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Do we have any questions or comments on the report? Can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. Moving on to agenda item 15, the Procurement Strategy, January 21 to March 2022, Local Prosperity, Local Jobs and Better Outcomes. Again, this is one for you, Councillor Graham.
Thanks, Chair. So as everyone will know, we're one of the largest procurers of goods, services and works in the district, and we can play a significant role in supporting the local economy. The procurement strategy, if anyone doesn't know, basically provides a framework for how we obtain these goods, services and the works. There are two main aims behind the changes made to our strategy this year. Firstly, as a council, we want to increase the amount of money we spend with local suppliers. Last financial year, the council spent £89.5 million with local suppliers based within our district. This was an increase on the previous year of £11 million, and we want to go even further with this and increase spending by £14 million a year. The changes laid out in 4.7 will mean we'll be engaging with all local suppliers for contracts up to £100,000, and this is above and beyond the current requirement of £25,000. The second aim that we hope to achieve by this new strategy is we want to increase the amount of social value delivered by council expenditure. This is going to be achieved by increasing the weighing of social value in all our procurement exercises over 100,000 to 10% where possible by law. The new process will be applied, and this is also set out in 4.3, which will measure the social value of each contract objectively. Our goal is to deliver an additional 10 million by March 2020. As a council, we're strongly committed to working with local businesses, and I think that's been clear for everyone to see during this pandemic. This strategy, if approved, will increase prosperity. It has the potential to create new jobs within the district and it will also support the local economy. Just one final point is to provide reassurances to Cabinet members that I am aware of the Section 52 of the Modern Day Slavery Act 2015, and as a council we will always have a robust approach and a due diligence process in relation to modern day slavery and human trafficking in our business supply chain. So with that, Chair, draw members' attention to the recommendations. Number 1, to approve this procurement strategy, which is set out in Appendix A. And secondly, as a Cabinet, to recommend to full Council the changes outlined in this report are made to the contract procedure rules. With that, Chair, I move the report and happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you for that, Michael. And can I say what an absolutely welcome report this is? I think it's going to make a huge difference in the current difficult climate that we face with jobs going and economic difficulties for businesses. So any money that the council can ensure we spend locally will go a long way to helping with that. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Right, with that, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. That report is agreed, and that is the last item on the agenda. So with that, I'll say thank you all for your attendance and your contributions this morning, and can we end the meeting at